Hello my friends, this is Elisabetta, your Italian watercolor friends, and welcome back to my channel. As you might hear, I have a cold. It's freezing cold here. We have this cold wave from Siberia, and I can tell you that staying indoor is very, very pleasant. It's a pleasure, especially if you can paint. Today we have a new video, and I was wondering how many violets and purples are there in watercolor. When I started painting, I only had the Dioxazine violet PV23. It was my go-to violet and I really loved it. But then I started to understand that there are other options as well, maybe more beautiful and maybe more light fast. So here today we are exploring the world of purple pigments in watercolor. Let's get started. As a principle, if I have a choice, I will pick a Winsor Newton or a Rembrandt color, and when I don't have one of those, I will pick another brand that I know and use already. So I have listed all my violets in progressive order. Let's say I'm starting with PV14, then PV15, PV16, and so on, in ascending order. So we start with Cobalt Violet by Rembrandt. I have already reviewed this paint because I have a whole video about Cobalt Violets. For each of those, I might make a dedicated video. There is some binder separation, but just don't worry about this. Okay, here we are. It's our Cobalt Violet. PV14, as you can see, is a very low tinting, delicate, granulating violet. It's a violet that I adore for skies. It's also very nice for florals or for painting wisterias, which is my latest obsession. I will talk to you about wisteria later. And look how nice it is. It's too bad that I have toothpicks all over my desk. Let me just pick them up. Okay, my toothpicks are back in place. I started with a mess, which is good news because I can only improve from this binder separation and toothpick catastrophe. So I was talking about this Cobalt Violet. What I need to add is that being a cobalt color, it's incredibly light fast, so it's very good color, and I really think it's so romantic. I'm in love with this and I use it a lot. I have it in my studio palette, which I think I will swatch my studio palette sooner or later on this channel. Then I have this Ultramarine Violet. I have never tried this pigment. This tube was given to me by my follower that sent me the art haul before Christmas, around Christmas, and which I never stopped thanking. So thank you, follower. I'm not sure she wants to be mentioned, so I don't. Here it is. It's PV15. And it is a bluish violet. Ultramarine violet. There is also an ultramarine rose, but we're not swatching it today. And it should be granulating, being an ultramarine color. Let me add some more mastone. gets definitely darker than Cobalt Violet. And let me see how it dilutes. Not an incredible flown paper. There's a little put, but it's a lovely color. Completely different. This is reddish and this is bluish. Ultramarine violet. Let's see how they dry before we make a complete judgment. Then we have this very interesting PV16 Manganese violet, and Winsor Newton calls it permanent mauve. What is it? Ah, yes. And Winsor and Newton calls it permanent mauve. Permanent is very fitting word because handprint says that PV16 is the best violet to choose in a palette if you want to have one purple, one violet, because it's the most stable, the more permanent of all the purple, violet. I don't know the difference between purple and violet. Someone can explain, please. So this Manganese violet is the most light fast of all the purple pigments. So handprint highly recommends it. It's really beautiful. I think that this is a color that I will absolutely introduce in my palette. Look at how beautiful it is. It's still reddish, but it's stronger than Cobalt Violet, which is not going to leave my palette. I'm keeping both. And it's granulating, I think. So, very nice. Winsor and Newton like the Ultramarine, but the flown paper is better for Manganese. You know, it depends on the pigment as well. Then we have Quinacridone Violet PV19. This is a pigment that we have that I have extensively reviewed in my Quinacridone videos, but it's nice to swatch it here side by side with other violet pigments. I have the MAIMERI version here, which is called Quinacridone Lake, and it's so pigmented, and it's a sort of magenta. It's very reddish. Look how different they all are. I think it's fascinating. I'm slightly obsessed by purple recently. I'm painting all violet things, and I'm also using a lot purple mixed with, for instance, black or phthalo green for shadow. I think that the gray that you get from this mix is fantastic. So this is the beautiful this incredibly pigmented. It's wonderful, this MAIMERI, and it is PV19, and it's very light fast, it's very stable. It's a quinacridone colors, and you know that quinacridone colors have a superior performance. Then we go to purple that I'm sure you know very well, because PV23 is the purple that the half pan that you find in any basic set. If you buy a basic set with the violet, it is for sure this PV23, which is very nice because it's very consistent across brands. Very, very consistent. You don't find a huge difference. It's very beautiful because it's rich and velvety, but it has two drawbacks. It has a larger drying shift, and it's not so light fast. Or better, it's very variable, the light fastness. It depends on the brand. So it can be light fast or it can be slightly fugitive or fugitive. So I don't know, maybe you should avoid, although I use it because I find it so beautiful, so velvety. I like it a lot. So if you use it in a sketchbook, you're not selling your work, you can use it because it's beautiful. And for shadow, for me, this is unbeatable. But be careful, if you sell your work, stay away from this pigment. And if you're in doubt, don't use this PV23. Then we go to a more unusual pigment, which is PV29 Perylene Violet. I have it in this Schminke. I haven't used it so far. I have only swatched it in a video, but you know, when I have such beautiful paint, sometimes I just feel intimidated using it. So for my everyday sketches, I use my Paul Rubens small set, and I say to myself, oh, when I finish Paul Rubens, I will be using this. So this stays in a drawer, getting old with me. So, but okay, let's try this Perylene Violet, which I don't even remember. It is this one. You know that Schminke are wonderful quality usually. Okay, I didn't remember. It was so beautiful. I am completely crazy not to use it. But I'm sure someone shares the same feeling of being intimidated by such prestigious brand like Schminke. I should use it more often. I have so many Schminke colors. I have squeezed some tubes in my studio palette, but other than that, I don't really use them, and I feel so stupid. Look how transparent it is. It's really a beautiful color. I think that Perylene might be a new family to explore, but first I would like to drill down the violet pigments. So this is the first, I think, of a violet series, given my obsession for violets. Then I have the sister pigment of PV14, and it is PV49. It's a different cobalt violet. I remember I had some binder issues with this one, so let's see if I'm lucky today. I'm lucky today, maybe. Yes, I am, definitely. Slightly gluey, I remember this. It's a texture, it's perfectly normal, but it's gluey. Maybe I should pour this in a pan to see if it loses this gluey texture, which is not so pleasant when you use it. Okay, but I also remember it was very beautiful, this PV49. Just like its sister pigment, it's low tinting and granulating, I think, but let's see when it dries. And it is absolutely lovely. Okay, once you add water, the gluey texture doesn't bother that much, so it's a lovely alternative to PV14, I think, but it's more rare to find. I think that I only have this one by Daniel Smith. Then we have this PV55, which is the sister pigment or brother pigment. In Italian, pigment is masculine. I don't know. In any case, it's a sibling of PV19. So it's a Quinacridone purple. And it's also a deep reddish color. You know, I have a passion for Quinacridone colors. They just glow, glowing there. And this is slightly more bluish than its sister PV19, which is more reddish. It's so staining, it's so tinting. It is incredibly saturated. It's very, very beautiful. I can't have them all in my palette, but it's difficult to pick the one that you want because they're all beautiful, I think. Then I have this pigment Cobalt Violet by LUKAS. I also have the same pigment by Schminke. But this is an interesting paint because it's so much value for money. And it is a cobalt violet hue. We have already seen this pigment in my cobalt violet video. I will put all the links below in the info box. And it's a bluish, definitely bluish, cloudy. I use this word cloudy, I'm not sure it's correct, but this is what it seems to me. It just forms some very pleasant, very beautiful clouds. It's not homogeneous wash like quinacridone colors. It just flocculates and aggregates in clouds, and I find it very pleasant. You see the granules. And this paper, the one that I use for swatches, my swatches notebook, it's not at all paper that favors granulation. It's almost a dark lavender, I find. If you dilute it, you have a sort of lavender, which is one of my recent obsessions, lavender. And that's why here we are. Here we have three pre-mixed violets that I find interesting. One is lavender, and it's a color that I really love. Here I have the Rembrandt version, which is my go-to lavender. It's the one that I use for myself. I also have Roman Szmal, but it's in the Roman Szmal set. So for when I paint and need some lavender, I just squeeze some from my Rembrandt tube. You know that I have a soft spot for Rembrandt. It's such a serious brand. They have wonderful colors at a good price. They are Dutch. And my son, which I obviously adore, lives in the Netherlands. He has lived in the Netherlands since 4 years because he goes to university there. He will be probably finished soon. And here is our lavender. I want to dilute it, water it down, because it becomes so beautiful when you water it down. And I use this a lot for sky, but also it creates wonderful mixes. And I think I will dedicate a whole video about lavender and all the mixes that you can get. But in sky, this is adorable. The natural use, the easiest use is for florals, but I can tell you that in sky it's really wonderful. And actually it's a mixture. You see actually inside there is PB29, PV15. It's a mistake here. I have written PB15, but no, it's PV15, ultramarine violet, and white, PW6. So these two colors together, probably you can mix, but this convenient lavender premix is really beautiful. You can make your own mixing these three pigments, I guess. There is a very interesting video about how to mix lavender, which I think is really brilliant, and you can find it on Morrison Watercolor's channel. Check it out because it's very interesting. Then there is another violet that I find very interesting, a premixed violet, and it's Shadow Violet by Roman Szmal. I know that Daniel Smith has a version of this, but I don't have it. It's in my wish list, obviously. I have a less beautiful version by Paul Rubens, which I use a lot, hoping to finish so I can start using my Roman Szmal, or maybe buy Daniel Smith, but I don't dare until I have my Paul Rubens. And it's a reddish shadow, and it's incredibly nice. Also, Roman Szmal makes mineral violet, which is a beautiful premixed violet that is separating, and I will just swatch it here. Look at this. This is absolutely adorable. And this is Mineral Violet by Szmal. And this is PB29 Ultramarine Blue and PV19 Quinacridone Violet. So I think it's really beautiful, and it's granulating. It has the strength of Quinacridone Violet PV19 and the granulation properties of Ultramarine Blue, and it's wonderful. Mineral Violet. And then we have our last color, which is Dusk Violet by Van Gogh. This is also a gift by my fantastic follower. And it is Mouse Black, PB-K11, and Dioxazine Violet. And it should be intensely granulating because of the presence of Mouse Black. Unfortunately, this paper, once again, is not the best paper, but I'll do my best to show granulation. It's really beautiful. This also, I think, for a shadow could be a very nice choice. It's the first time I test this. It's the first time I swatch it, and I like it. I don't have many Van Goghs. They are the student grade from Talents, the same company that makes Rembrandt. Fantastic. Okay, we let this dry and then we come back. So I thought I might try these colors in painting some roses. You know, the roses are not so easy, so I think it's a nice test to see what I can do. I'm not not totally a flower person, but I really love painting flowers, and I have just published a Skillshare class how to paint wisteria, because I'm obsessed by wisterias, lavender colors, purples, and I think that I can paint wisteria very well, and I teaching my method of painting a glowing wisteria in this class. You find the link in the info box so that you can try the class for free, and you can have a free access to Skillshare for 1 month with my referral link. Not just my class, but all the classes. I think is worth trying if you're not on this. So I'll try some roses. I'm just using some of them at random. Just some, I love color variation, so I'm just using some of them, different colors. LUKAS, Winsor Newton, Quinacridone Violet, LUKAS Cobalt Violet. I don't know, I use 3 or 4. MAIMERI. And the mauve, the Manganese Violet by Winsor Newton. So I will use these 4. I will speed up the painting. I'm stopping here. It was just a quick sketch to show how many different roses you can paint with different violets, the different effects, and some are easier than other to paint. For instance, this dioxazine violet was too dark in the center, so I have to go back and add some definition here. Otherwise, it's a blob. It's a blob. Maybe it was just me, but I think that we need to add some definition. Okay, let's fan out these petals. Let's see the drying shift, because from what I remember, there is a strong drying shift in dioxazine violet in my experience. Okay, that was fine, I must say. Also because roses are not so easy to paint. This is also can be fixed. I don't remember which one I used, but I'd go back with some of them for a darker center, because it's nice as the rose when the center is very dark. Okay, we'll let this dry. Let's see what happened to our paint. Yes, our swatches are dry, and we're ready to enjoy the difference among all these violets. You see that Cobalt Violet was very, very delicate when it was wet, and it stays very delicate, but the drying shift is not so strong. Whereas, as I told you, look at the Dioxazine Violet. It's I think I remember it's around 40% the drying shift of Dioxazine Violet. So it's so rich and velvety when you paint, but then when it dries, it's a bit disappointing. Ultramarine Violet, I think in the same range, could be a nice substitute of PV23, because it's more light, faster, and it's more delicate also in the beginning, but then it stays more or less the same color. Manganese Violet, which is quite new for me, is wonderful. I think it's absolutely wonderful. Look at the flocculation. This is something that I must put in my palette, because I'm in love with this color. So granulating, so varied. I love it. And also I think that dries even more. It's even nicer than wet. Quinacridone Violet, we know it, we've seen it already. It's beautiful color. It's beautiful color. It's like a jewel. Dioxazine Violet, drying shift. This Perylene is a wonderful muted violet. It reminds me a bit of Caput Mortuum, which is a color that I don't use very much, but in portrait can come in handy, and these also, I think, in portraits can be great. I'm trying today to use it. I'm trying a portrait today. I love portraits. I'm not so good in portraits, but I really love them. This Cobalt Violet is also very nice, very similar to PV14. The Quinacridone Purple PV59, it's great. For me, it's a great purple because it's very light, fast, and the hue is in between a blue and reddish. So it's bluer than its sister PV15, but it's also very, very nice. It's I think that if you don't need a granulating violet, this is a good choice. This Cobalt Hue by LUKAS, it's muted. I love it. I've said this already. I think it's a fantastic color to have. So mute. I like muted colors, so I like it. Lavender with its slightly purplish blue. It's a must-have for sky. I'm telling you, I used to loathe pastel colors, and but I'm now I'm discovering some of them, and lavender is for sure one of my favorite colors in this moment. Then we have this dusk violet, very nice, and shadow violet. I hope you can appreciate the colors on screen, because they're so beautiful. So when you say purple watercolor, just don't limit yourself to PV23, explore this world. And then this mineral violet by Szmal is also very beautiful. I need to write it down. It was really a lot of fun for me today swatching all these violets. I remember buying my first purple. I had this Cotman Dioxazine violet, and I was so proud of myself because I went to our supply store and bought this single color, and I felt so professional. But today I understand that it was just the beginning of a journey. My roses, don't judge the artistic quality, because roses are difficult, they're not so easy, but they're a lot of fun. Just sometimes when I want to swatch colors, I make patterns like these, because here you can really appreciate the difference. I don't remember what I used for this, maybe the Cobalt hue by LUKAS, I'm not sure, but this is really nice, this one, because it goes from gray to blue. It's really nice, this one. And you see how many differences you can achieve. Also this dusk violet is almost black. Rose is fun, but it's just fun, just fun. I hope you have fun too when you swatch your colors. Just let go. There is this term, being in the flow, means that when you're painting, you just forget everything around you and you just enjoy the process. And I feel that very, very strongly. And roses help me to enter this state of flow, of mindfulness. It's one of the benefits of watercolor. Okay, thanks a lot for having watched this video with me. And as usual, please feel free to comment, because I love to chat with my followers. And I'm really waiting for your favorite purples, or your go-to purples, and your favorite brands, and your desiderata for my next videos. So I think I will go deep down into each of those. So comparison of lavender, comparison of manganese, ultramarine violet. I think I'd do that, except for those that I have already done, like cobalt violet or quinacridone violets. And I will keep swatching some brands once in a while. And also, as some followers ask me, I think I will soon swatch all my Schminkes or all my MAIMERIs. That would be interesting. Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend, Sunday. And I hope I can publish this, edit this and publish by tomorrow, which is going to be Sunday. And ciao, 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 ciao. It's a pleasure to be with you. Ciao.